Hi, welcome everybody in our to our continuing series of Zoom interviews with BC provincial election candidates. And for this interview, we're joined by Preet Rai. He is the BC NDP candidate in Abbotsford West. Thanks for joining us, Preet.
Oh, thanks. Thank you, Vince. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk to your readers.
They're readers, and hopefully they're going to be watchers for these Zoom interviews.
And, and
This has been
hopefully
a
they
very, yeah, it's been a very strange election campaign, and
yes,
we
it
thought
is.
that we would do Zoom interviews instead of podcasts because, during the campaign, you can't go anywhere and you can't meet anybody. And so instead of just letting people hear your voice, we thought this time around that we would do Zoom interviews. People could see your face and see your signs and see your office and also get to know a little bit about the real you.
Where it's
And
all happening, the place
that's
where
right.
it's all happening.
That's right. So just for those that might not have seen one of these Zoom interviews before or listened to a podcast, the way this works is this is a long form discussion. It is not a debate, and it's also not a question and answer interview. So basically, the purpose here is to give our readers, our viewers, a chance to get to know you and your personality rather than just hear you answer questions that you've answered 100 times. And
Oh,
so, yeah, so with that in mind, a great place to start is to get to know a little bit about like you and your family history. So maybe tell us a little bit about where you're from and where you grew up and how you got to Abbotsford, and then maybe when you got to Abbotsford, what inspired you to get into politics. And I think it's no secret to people that you are on the Abbotsford School Board. I would imagine that was your first sniff at politics. So maybe bring us through that. Bring your how your family got here to Canada and what got you into politics.
so how it all started on the school board. I'll get to that a little bit later. But I was born in India, grew up in India, did my education there, uh, graduate Bachelor's of Commerce with honors in accounting, as well as I've done my accountancy in India. Then in 1992, I migrated to Scotland, where me and wife and we had two kids. We stayed there for about 3 years before we realized that Scotland is a very beautiful place, but it's always raining. So we thought, you know what, let's go to some place where it's a little bit more warmer. So we migrated to Vancouver. Now, Vancouver is much better. It's not as rainy as in Scotland, but it's still got its fair share of rain. So we came here in 1995, did a little bit of night shift at a 7-Eleven to get things rolling. Then did about a year with a chartered accountancy firm in Chilliwack, about a year with another firm in Duncan on the island, and then in 1997 got a job provincial government in their Ministry of Finance. I've been there, uh, and that's where I've been working there for 1990, over 23 years, a long time. Um, so I have three kids. All three of them went to school in Abbotsford. My wife is a teacher. She also teaches in Abbotsford. My mother was a teacher, and she got us the to be inquisitive about education. And you know what? Because, like I guess, like with all of us growing up, the money was scarce, and we could not go traveling or around the world or even locally. She was a geography teacher, and we traveled the world in an atlas. She would sit down on the bed, and all three of us, me and my brother and sister, we would sit down around her, and we would look at the atlas, and we would just enjoy the world. We saw places that we didn't even know the names of, but because we were the geography teacher, we really enjoyed it. And so, uh, coming forward to Abbotsford, kids were in school. I went into joined the parent the PACs, parent advisory committees, and also the school planning councils at that time, was on them for a number of years. And then, as progression would happen, school board elections were coming up, and somebody suggested that because you're so involved, and you should run at it, run at it. And with the first time didn't quite make it, but with the community's input and community support, after that in 2008, elected as a school board trustee, and I have been on the board for the last 12 years. This is my fourth time I've been on the school board. And you know what? It's one of the most satisfying experiences. Yes, there's a lots of ups and downs and pluses and minuses. You want to do something but can't because the money is short or whatever. There's so many different reasons for that. But it's mostly been more positive, and the most positive out of that, I would admit, would be to get elected as an MLA would be the thing I would miss more, is going to schools and talking to kids. I haven't done that for the last 8 9 months because of COVID, but that's what I really enjoyed more: going to schools, talking to kids, going to their play, when they're having those, I forget the word, in their grounds, the play meets. Let's put it that way. And going for other competitions that are going, being judges on that. It was really fulfilling. That is really the most enjoyable part. I think the most enjoyable part, I would say, is I've been on it maybe about 7, 8, maybe even 10 times in a dunk tank. And school trustee in there, even the teachers and everybody else, they enjoy. Come on, put more some more ice in there. It'll be nice. So that's fun. That's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's cold, but it's a lot of fun. So once we once I when the election came around, the provincial election, but you know what? I think I made a positive difference in the community, and I think I'm ready to take the next. Decided to put my hat in for the provincial level.
Yeah, so that kind of brings us up to to present day, and I do know that you ran once before in this riding. How did you find that experience? Obviously, it was a different election. There was no COVID at the time. Also, lots of election rules were different around election financing and what you could do and who could support you and how you could advertise. Quite a bit different in the intervening time. Maybe give the people listening some insight into your experience running the last time, and also maybe the difference between that and this election.
The last time it was I ran from Abbotsford West as well, and it was very different. We had actually opened up an office, had staff there. We were meeting people there. Voters would come in, talk about different things. It was quite different and quite enjoyable. Talking to on one on what concerns are about Abbotsford West in particular. This time around, that's not the case anymore. It is so different. We decided not to open an office because we thought, you know what, it's better to be safe than be sorry, and not so we didn't open up. And we are not door knocking. Last time we door knocked quite a bit, but this time we are not door knocking because of the same reasons. You don't want to. It doesn't feel right to door knock in these times. And of course, last time there was a lot of gatherings where you would go, people would either in halls or in restaurants or in people's backyards or in their living rooms and talk about different issues with 5, 7, and 20 people. Can't do that anymore. It, have had some meetings like that, but we've all been socially distanced, 6 feet apart, mostly. Some of us in masks. I was always in a mask, and so it's different. Even if you look at, say, Burma shaving that we do outside in during the election. Last time it was like 10 people standing in Burma shaving. Now when we do Burma shaving, we're doing like three, maybe four people, maximum five, but we still stay apart and wear masks. It's not the same. It's fun, still fun, but it's not the same. Like 10 people Burma shaving and 4 or 5 people Burma shaving is a different story. So yes, it's quite different. It's a lot of fun still, but it's very different.
So most tell me that the election, the campaigning process is completely different than it was, and you've just given us some insight there. And it seems like everybody is on the telephone. That's the way they're reaching out. There's social media, of course, and doing things on social media, but the telephone seems to be king. So I would imagine that you've been doing a lot of calls, and when you're calling people, our Abbotsford, the city, is split up into three separate districts, three separate ridings, and each seem to have like a very unique flavor to them. Some have more rural issues, others have more urban issues. Some have issues coming out of the farming community, and others have issues coming out of transportation. Roads are more important to them. So when you're calling people, what are the one or two top issues that you're hearing from the people in your riding that they want to see addressed by the new government?
And you're so right. This is an election on the telephone. My cell phone battery runs out about maybe twice during the day, and so my kids were, I guess, the, more in technology, so they've given me this hack that which has batteries. So I just attach it and I have both of them in my pocket so that I don't run out of it. Don't the phone doesn't die. And yes, it's quite a bit. So even in the evening, like between not dinner time, but before and but after dinner time for maybe 2 and a half hours, 3 hours, I'm constantly on the phone, talking to people, voters about issues or any other concerns they may have. And yes, it is very different. It is very different. So coming to the other point, what are the main issues? Ours is Abbotsford West. It's a sort of um, mix of both rural and urban, more urban. Still a vast rural area there, but it's a lot of urban population. And as I'm talking to people, the three I would say three, maybe four issues that come uh, to quite a lot outside, and in no particular order. Well, yes, or in a particular order in the sense that transportation, highway one, is the number one. By no means it is number one that people are asking, why has it not been built? And I'm sure you've been on it, I've been on it. We've always tried ways, okay, if something going on wrong, let's go to Fraser Highway, that's blocked, let's go somewhere else. Whatever you want to say. Always trying to find ways to go faster towards, say, Vancouver side. And usually if a small accident happens or any accident happens, it's a parking lot. So just to get into a little bit of um, us and them, let's put it this way. The BC Liberals had a plan to have an HOV lane come into Abbotsford, which is 30 years from now, which is, I thought, is unacceptable even when it came out. In our platform, and we have announced it, that we will have 4 lanes going up to Waterm the next 5 years. I think that is one of the major things that you hear on phone calls, doorstep, and more doorstep on the phone call nowadays is how is your government going to fix the problem of the highway? And I'm glad we as a government have put it up to one. The second issue, which is another major issue, is healthcare. If you look at our hospital years ago, beautiful hospital, state-of-the-art building, very nicely done. But what's a hospital if people are going and waiting in the emergency rooms for 4 or 5 hours? It's not acceptable. So last year, our Minister of Health, Adrian Dix, came over and and he was supportive of the expansion of the emergency room. It has been passed and the work will already begun. So that is one of the other initiatives. So I would like to say this that for a number of years, uh, the liberals have taken these three seats for granted. They, they just think that belong to them. Whatever they don't do, they will get these seats, they will win these. But I think from what I'm hearing on the phone, I think it's a time for a change. And I think with everybody going out there voting and voting with their voting by thinking that who is a better candidate or who is a better government that will help you, not just get into the mindset, oh, we voted that guy last time. Think about it, go out there and cast your vote in a manner that that bring about change in Abbotsford, so that once you have a representative from the ruling party on the table over there, things you can talk about different things, and as your constituent, give me a call, and we can talk about different things. And of course, I could bring that those things off onto Victoria and present them. Because I think we need a lot of other that have not been happening in our community for the longest time. Just the two examples.
Yeah, so just before I go on to the next point, I just want to let you know the mic is your mic is dropping out a little bit, and I don't know whether that's the
Oh,
I don't know whether that's the an internet connection, but maybe yeah, just try see if it's the mic itself, and just yeah, get a little closer to it.
how is it? Is it okay now?
Well, let's try it, because if it's the internet, it also just might be because we are recording this. It could, I might just, it might be dropping out for me, and it might be okay on the recording. But let's continue, because we're just missing a few words here and there, and we're not missing big patches. So
Maybe I was leaning back. I was trying to lean back and talk. Maybe I should come nearer to the mic.
I've got you too relaxed. Is that it? I should
Uh,
ask you a tough
maybe,
question. Uh,
maybe.
uh,
No.
well, I've got a slightly tougher question. I mean, it's I'm not going to put you on the spot, but what I would like is, those are the issues that you've identified with voters that have been talking to you. I'd be interested. So if you were to get elected in Abbotsford West, at least in my memory, and I've been in Abbotsford myself for 25 years, you would be the first NDP elected at any level of government in this region, in our city, I think. I'd have to look way back, I think, but in my memory, you might be the first. So if Abbotsford sent you to Victoria, and as part of an NDP majority government, if that's the way it turns out over the next couple of weeks, what would be the first couple of things that you'd like to do? What would you like? What message would you take on behalf of Abbotsford to an NDP government? And I should say that they have made the announcement on Highway 1. Is there more to do, though? What do you think? What do you think about that, and what's on your mind?
So I think you're right in the sense that from Abbotsford there has never been an NDP candidate elected, but I think in the region there has been a few. If I recall correctly, in Mission there was an NDP the name, but he was also a minister in the government 90s. And also for I think for one by-election, uh, uh, name was Gwen, one from Chilliwack, years ago. So there has been some NDP candidates being elected in the region, but yes, you're right. In Abbotsford, for the last or however long I can remember, there has never been a NDP candidate. NDP candidate. So, so that is one of the other. So yes, Highway 1 has been announced, and yes, so that will be built in the next years. But there's so many other things that have to be done in this area. One of them would be we have an issue of I don't like the word gang, but we do have a gang violence issue over here. And even from the school board side, as well as from the community side, we have been trying to put in services or put in efforts to down. And it started moving in the right direction. But I think we are just touching the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of work. Once an NDP government, I'm there in Victoria, I think we can talk to specialists or people who know these to help us more maybe initiatives in here or maybe some more different kind of how we can prevent and get a more handle. It's turned into the right direction. If you recall over the last few months, it is less because I think there's more community awareness as well as more funding or more work is being done on the side from community services as well as from school board and city. But but I think more can be done, and I think we should get. I think that is one of the things that I would like to work on. And of course, the other main thing is what happened with COVID and the senior. Liberals privatized it, um, dropped the wages of the people working there, and so just to make ends meet, people were going between one and two and three different places to work to make ends meet. And when COVID hit, where we realized the issue, oh, transfer from one home to another. So the government has already stopped it, and I think uh, the results are coming out, and also they've increased wages of the people who are working there, right? So they have we'll be hiring more staff, but I think more work has to be in care level, level where it's where it should be. So those are some of the issues that I'll be taking there.
Yeah, so to kind of follow on a little bit from the question about being the first NDP party person elected, I think it's only fair to touch a little bit on the fact that, again, in my memory, provincially, I don't think we've had a South Asian representative in the legislature. We've kind of come close in Parliament. Jatinder Sidhu, member of the Federal Liberal Party, represented Abbotsford Mission. That riding has a longer name than that. Abbotsford Mission Matsqui or Matsqui Mission, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think provincially, I don't recall a South Asian representative in the legislature.
Abbotsford?
From Abbotsford, yes.
No, there has been no South Asian representation from Abbotsford, or we can say from the region. There's none of them in Mission or Quebec. I don't think there's never been one. Get into Surrey, yes, there's there, but our from the Fraser Valley, there has been. There's never been.
Yeah. So I guess the question I want to ask there then is, with Abbotsford's, generally the Abbotsford population is 30% plus made up of South Asians. When you figure in other minority groups, we're hovering somewhere right around 50% of our population is non-Caucasian. In other words, Caucasians are actually the minority in our community. And yet they've made up 100% of our representatives in the legislature. So I point that out because I'd like to hear from you what you think it would mean to your community to be the first to go to Victoria. How do you think, what do you think would be the South Asian community's reaction to that? And how would you feel about it personally?
You know what, I don't see this as a South Asian or a Caucasian or any other minority you would call it. I see more of it as a as a say a BC Liberal Party, say and any and others, BC NDP or others, more of that of an issue, because it's the same people getting elected, same people getting elected, same people not doing much for the community because they take it for granted. And yes, being a South Asian, if I do get elected, uh, the community will be happy. But I think uh, the change will be for the broader community. Just won't be for the minority community, the broader community. Like if you get more coming into the hospital, that'll be for everyone. We'll get senior care being better looked after. That's for everybody. These I don't think these issues are linked to any community. Yes, it might be in one community is more than the other, but these are universal issues, and it'll be for the whole. It won't be. But yes, if I do get elected, I think uh, brothers and sisters in the community will be that there is.
Yeah, and I should say in my own defense that if you were a female, I might ask the same question, because I think it's also quite a rarity in the three Abbotsford ridings to have ever had a female MLA in the legislature. I was just, as you were talking, I was trying to think if there was ever a female elected in those three ridings. And again, I'm happy to be fact checked by anyone listening, but I don't think there has been, and certainly has not been for, it would have been decades if a female had been elected out here.
I've been here for over 20 years, and there's quite a few municipal and school board level, good, but I don't recall anybody in the left.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so I think keeping in all those things in mind, I think if the community agrees, there should be a change, and the change should be to for the provincial legislature as an MLA from Abbotsford West. My slogan is very simple. It's very, very easy. Tallest guy with the shortest last name, Rai. So it's very easy to go with. It's three words. You don't even have to think about it. Just take it.
I think that slogan of yours, tallest guy with the shortest name, is becoming famous in the community. I think.
Yeah, I use it. I use it even for my school board. Right? So yeah, if it works, why not use it everywhere? And you know that it's a fact. It's true. I think I'm the tallest guy running either provincially or even in municipal elections. I don't think there's anybody who's ever run in the shortest REI.
Yeah, well, you're not the only tall guy on school board, because I think we both know that Stan Peterson is a pretty tall dude himself. And
but he is tall, but Peterson is not.
Peterson is not a short name, no.
He's a great man. He's a great man. He's a great guy. But I don't think he's maybe 2 or 3. I am, but still.
Yeah.
Still the tallest guy with the shortest last name.
No competition.
No competition.
Just before we bring this to a close, and I'm just want to kind of make a note to everybody listening, whether the sound has been good or not. As I've done for the other candidates, I should say that if you want to know more about Preet, you can find him easily on Facebook. Just go on facebook.com and search for Preet Rai. He'll come up right away. Also, if you go to the bcndp.ca website and look under candidates, he's very easy to find. They're alphabetically ordered by riding, and so Abbotsford's right near the top. You can find information about him there. And so just as we're kind of, bringing it to a close, I would like to spend this last question just touching on the way the election will play out. So there was an Angus Reid poll that came out just yesterday that showed that somewhere between 30 and 40% of voters have either voted by mail-in ballot or they have voted in advanced polling, which means basically that on election day, and unless there's a landslide in a riding, which seems to be very hard to do in a close election, that it might take 2 or 3 weeks to decide who wins in one riding or another. And so just your thoughts generally on that. How do you view mail-in balloting? There's the statistic I heard was that in the last election, 8,500 people voted by mail-in ballot. And this election, already nearly 400,000 people have voted by mail-in ballot, and another 300,000 have voted in advanced polls. Maybe give our listeners some insight into what you think about that and what you think about the delayed gratification of election night. Do you think that's good for our province? Do you think it's going to change the way that the world votes from going forward? What's your thoughts on that?
I think it could change the way the world is going forward. But I'm always for choice, even on my decisions, my personal decisions. When I vote, I always the choice. And for students, if somebody wants to do this, we, of course, provided we have the funds and we have the staff to do it, they should be able to do it. Or somebody wants to do something else, they should be allowed to do it. So I'm always for choice. And having a mail-in ballot, I think it's a good sign. Maybe it's a good sign for the future that lots of things will change, and mail-in ballots will become will more prominent. And another thing is that people, voters sometimes don't go to vote because life is so busy. They're doing so many things, taking kids to soccer, piano, whatever, and whatnot, or looking after the elderly parents. There's so many things going on all the time in your life that when it comes to voting, yes, they do realize that we have to vote, and we always tell them, please go and vote. Whatever party you vote for, that's a different thing. But please go out and vote. But with the mail-in ballot, I haven't got it because I'm the old-fashioned guy. I would like to go and vote at a polling station. But there's been I've talked to so many families, my families and some friends, and they have asked for, and they say it takes 2 minutes to fill in the paperwork. The ballot comes to your house. It is done. They're done, and it's put in the mail or at the district electoral office, and it's done. So, and you can do it at your own time. So I think it's to encourage more people to vote. I think it should be there, and it should be future maybe talked about a little bit more as well. But yes, I think from all things COVID, there's certain good things that have come out, and I think this is one of them.
Mm-hmm. We couldn't agree more. And I just for those people listening, if you have a mail-in ballot that you have not mailed, it's actually too late to do that. But you can take your mail-in ballot to any polling station and drop it off. You can also take it to any Elections BC office. If you haven't registered to vote, you can just go to your local polling station and you can register and vote right on the spot. You just need to take some ID with you. So if you please vote, and to find out where to vote, you can just go to Google and type in Elections BC. It'll come straight up, and you can click to find out where your polling station is. Go in and register, take your mail-in ballot. Advanced voting obviously is on now, and the polls are open for most of the day on Saturday for voting. So
8 to 8. 8 to 8 on Saturday.
8 to 8.
And
8
to
in the
8
mornings
tomorrow.
and 8
Tomorrow
at
is the
night.
last day for advanced polling, Wednesday. And it's
Yes.
8 to 8 tomorrow as well.
Yes. So don't miss that, and electionsbc.ca to find out where to vote. Great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Preet. I appreciate you joining us. And I know that maybe the election won't get decided on Saturday, but when the voting is all done, we wish you luck and enjoy the last couple of days of campaigning.
No, thank you so much. Thanks, Vince. Thanks for having me here. And thank you to the viewers, and thank you to your readers for watching this.
Great. Thanks. We'll do the Zoom goodbye wave.